What's going on? My name is FreerunnerX10 and welcome to a brand new video. So today I thought I'd check out a brand new game that's currently in development. Now, not much is known about this game. We've just got a few bits of press release. So we have a bit of basic information about this game. No gameplay yet, no cinematic reveal trailer, but we have a bit of information. So I thought I'd make an easy to digest video where you can just watch this video and know as much as you need to know about this up and coming game. So what is Hell Let Loose? Well, Hell Let Loose is a platoon-based realistic multiplayer first-person shooter for PC set during the Second World War. There's going to be huge battles with 100 players per game, so that's 50 per team. You're going to be able to coordinate, win through teamwork, tactics and communications. There's going to be a new metagame, capture sectors and resources to beat your enemy into submission. Combined arms, over 20 different player-controlled vehicles and deployed weapons. Epic theatre of war, do battle across a 1:1 scale 2 km squared map. More than the Twitch, supply, capture and building systems. Experience history, historically accurate arsenal with realistic weapon behaviour. A modern engine, developed for Unreal Engine 4. So you're probably wondering, when is this game releasing? What's happening with this game? Well, we don't have too much information. I'm going to go over some of the key bits of information we have. But as far as a release date is concerned, they're aiming to get this game out in early 2018 on Steam. So what they're planning to do is have a closed pre-alpha test of the game, Hell Let Loose. It's expected to begin in October 2017. They're going to have a Kickstarter campaign, and launching prior to that Kickstarter campaign, they're going to have a greenlight campaign to get the game greenlit so it can be available on Steam. Does that mean they're launching in Steam Early Access? I don't think so. I hope not. It sounds like they are going to release the game on Steam. They just need funding to make sure that the game is up to scratch, although it may be in Steam Early Access. They're very vague there. It possibly may well be in Steam Early Access, but I guess we'll get more information close to the time that they're actually getting ready to get this game greenlit so it can be available on Steam. Now, as for the Kickstarter campaign, not much is known about that. Obviously, they're just saying that they're going to do a Kickstarter campaign to get some funding to back the development of the game. They've already been developing the game from what I can tell. It just seems like they need a bit of funding in order to hopefully polish the game off and make this game a finished product that people will want to play and enjoy playing. As for the Kickstarter campaign, obviously you're supporting the development of the game, and I presume depending on how much you donate to the Kickstarter campaign depends on what kind of rewards you get out of donating and supporting the development of this game. Obviously nothing is known right now, but we'll have more information when they're ready to launch their Kickstarter campaign. Now, on the website there's a bit that says read on, and this section talks about the game in a little bit more detail than the above bullet points basically state. Hell Let Loose places heavy emphasis on teamwork and communication as players work together as limited roles in platoons beneath the leadership of officers and the force commander. Using historically accurate weapons, logistics, armor and tactics, Hell Let Loose is a game that demands teamwork and communication not only to win but to survive. Featuring sweeping 2 km maps, the battlefield is divided up into large cap sectors, allowing for emergent and constantly unique gameplay that pits two forces of 50 players in a fight to the death across fields, bridges, forests and towns. The first theatre of war is the sleepy Norman town of Saint-Mara-de-Mont on D-Day 1944 in northern France during Operation Overlord. It features a stunning and detailed 1:1 scale battlefield recreated from archival reference material and satellite photography. Players will organise and muster behind the front lines before carefully pushing forward into the French countryside towards the town. They will need to establish supply lines using logistics vehicles, establishing them to build garrisons and other spawn locations in the field. Armour and infantry must work together to smash through the front line and capture territory, pushing the enemy back and earning greater resources to sustain their fighting power. Engineers will lay minefields and barbed wire to create choke points. Sunken lanes become killing zones, while dense woodlands could mask the presence of a devastating Pak-43 towed into position by a waiting unit of Werchman's infantry. Allied infantry call in strafing runs as hedgerows light up with the fire of a Panther tank and the scream of Hitler's buzzsaw, the MG42. The battlefield is laid out, ready to be mastered by soldiers with the skill and strategic ability to wipe the enemy from the field. So it looks like the developers have a passion for this game. They're trying to make make a realistic World War II first-person shooter that is going to be somewhat complex, but in a way similar to, I guess, Squad. In Squad, for example, you push forward, you capture a certain point. There's no resources involved in capturing that point. You're just capturing the point to diminish tickets of the enemy, but you basically can capture a point and then build a forward outpost base. But in order for that base to succeed, you need to be constantly running supplies from the main base to this forward outpost base, and that's going to be very apparent in this game. It looks like there's going to be people doing certain tasks. So there's going to be a commander, then there's going to be officers, and you basically are going to be ordered to do certain things to contribute to that battle. And I believe that it will work really well because a lot of people will probably enjoy this type of game and won't mind what they're doing, whether that's being on the front line actually engaging enemies, or whether that's actually helping the team out by sitting in a logistics truck and then running supplies from the main base all the way to a certain outpost or garrison. So I've been talking about logistics trucks, and then later down in the website they talk about realistic vehicles. So it talks about delivering supplies to the front in an Opel Blitz supply truck, roll across the fields in a Sherman Firefly, flee a fearsome Panther tank in a Jeep, or bombard the enemy position in a Priest. We plan to introduce up to 30 vehicles into the game to serve a wide variety of functions. Our first priority will be the inclusion of supply and transport vehicles before we widen the scope to the most prolific vehicles, Panzer IV and Sherman, and then introduce interesting variants such as the Sherman Calio, Puma SD, KFZ 234, and Tiger 2. So there's different types of vehicle categories. So there's supply, transport, light armor, medium armor, heavy armor, mobile artillery, tank destroyer, assault gun, half-track scout, and repair. So that sort of widens the scope. So this is going to be a big map. There's going to be big battles. There's going to be a complex supply and resource system in the game, and there's going to be different types of trucks. So there's going to be somebody who's ordered to be in a repair truck, going around as an engineer trying to repair allied vehicles, which I think would be pretty cool. It'd be boring to watch sometimes, but for me, I'd probably enjoy that as part of like downtime, being away from actually constantly shooting at people. That would be a nice little thing to do. Just going around repairing allied vehicles in the middle of combat would be pretty fun to do. So further on down the website, they talk about 3 levels of warfare. It says engage in multi-dimensional warfare like never before. So the 3 levels of warfare are strategic, operational, and tactical. So strategic is play as a commander and decide on the grand strategy as you deploy your forces and adapt to the ever-changing situation on the ground. Communicating via radio, it will be up to you to summon reinforcements, supplies, and powerful aerial and naval strikes while accurately assessing the situation on the front line. Operational, establish supply lines of trucks, transport vehicles, and armoured recovery vehicles. Supplies will allow your forces to construct minefields, defences, and garrisons. Failure to supply the front line will result in a devastating collapse. Then you've got tactical, play as an officer and establish observation posts and garrisons before working to determine the best course of attack or defence for your unit. Mark targets with your binoculars to notify the commander and work together to flank, reinforce, supply, and obliterate the enemy. So there's sort of 3 levels of warfare, and they seem to play an intertwining role in the game. It seems like there's going to be a lot of time spent being very strategic and basically just biding your time, supplying garrisons, setting up defenses, and just thinking about what's going on before you actually engage into an actual combat situation. You're going to be hopefully ready for any situation that happens, but that just depends on what's going on in the game and who is your commander, who is in charge of the strategic element for your team. Towards the bottom of the website, they actually talk about the actual gameplay and how this capture system that they've got in place is going to work. So instead of capturing a small flag, the entire map is divided into capture sectors, forcing each team of 50 players to make a continual tactical decision as to where they should attack and defend. When a sector is captured, it will generate 1 of 3 resources for your team, creating a complex metagame that will influence your push to victory. So the battlefield is going to be constantly constantly changing, and your commander, people who are commanding your team, have got to be on the ball. They've got to be thinking about what's happening, what the enemy's probably going to do next, and they've got to make decisions based off what information they have. And I presume that information is like read to them, and they get that information from communicating with squads who are out there engaging in certain battles. It would be kind of a bit of a letdown if the commanders actually have sort of like a mini-map that tells them what's going off. It would be kind of interesting to see actual squads having to be in a certain location and basically, you know, saying what's going off and, you know, how they're doing in that location, and then the actual commander has to take that information and remember a majority of that information, and then use that information to work out what they want to do next to hopefully try and win the battle. Later on in that paragraph, it goes to talk about certain scenarios and, you know, would it be worth it spending fuel to get a certain tank to devastate the enemies? You know, would using this fuel resource to be able to get a tank to attack a certain location be beneficial to the team? And that's the kind of thing that you've got to be thinking about when you're commanding your team and thinking about what's going on in the actual battle. Then there's a paragraph which talks about the realistic weapons in the game. It says the 16+ historically accurate rifles, submachine guns, light machine guns, heavy machine guns, pistols and assault rifles are all accessible in their realistic limitation, with no crosshair, focus on realistic weapon behavior including jamming and overheating barrels, and a brutal suppression system. So that means there's going to be hopefully it's going to be a nice suppression system. What I mean by brutal is if you're taking fire from an MG42 nest, you are going to be pinned down. I take it you're going to be very inaccurate with your shots. There's going to be loads of effects on your screen which basically just limit you, and the only way you're going to be able to be fine in that situation is if you get away from that machine gun that's suppressing you. But yeah, I'm not sure about the brutal suppression. I mean, it adds to the realism. It just depends on whether they do the suppression system really, really well opposed to a poor suppression system. Hell Let Loose gets as close to the historical truth of the conflict as possible without becoming tedious or chore laden. So that's hopefully going to be something that is going to be very, very interesting. This whole realistic aspect they're trying to create. They're trying to create a realistic battlefield with realistic weapons, vehicles, everything in this scenario that you're taking part in is realistic. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see some actual gameplay of this and what it plays like, what it looks like visually. Obviously we've got a few screenshots, but you know, when we actually have gameplay and we get to see what the game looks like while someone's playing the game, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know, I'm really excited for this game. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks really interesting, and it's probably going to be one of the better World War II games out there. It's going to be very realistic, so I don't know, there's going to be quite a few people who probably want to play this. If you ever played Squad or Project Reality for Battlefield 2, or even Arma 3, any Milsim mods on Arma 3 or Arma 3 in general, you may be interested in this if you like World War II games. I know I'm a big fan of World War II games. I like the World War II era. There's something special about it, like as a setting in a game, it's just really phenomenal. So hopefully they do this right. Hopefully we get to see some gameplay. Right now it's just some basic information that we have. If you would like to check out their website and various different bits of social media that they have set up, I will link that all in the description below underneath the game's information. And yeah, I don't know, let me know what you think about this game. Are you excited for this game? I'm quite curious. I want to see more about this game. I want to know more about this game. I want to see gameplay. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more content like this or more content by me, then hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will see you in my next video.